Getting a top LSAT score isn't just about getting the questions right, it's also about getting them right under test day conditions. You're not just doing an individual question, you're not just doing an individual section, you're doing 4 sections back to back with just a short 10-minute break between sections 2 and 3. If you've looked at any official LSAT prep tests, you've seen they've got about 100 questions. Of course, on test day, only 75 of them are going to be scored. You're also going to have 1 unscored extra experimental section of either logical reasoning or reading comprehension. So endurance is real, doing those 4 sections back to back in just one sitting with just a short break. So you might be thinking, I'm tired by the end of the exam. Section 4 is always lower accuracy because I'm tired by that point. My response to you is, if 4 sections seem scary now, try doing 5 section exams every now and then to build your endurance. The LSAT actually used to have 5 sections on test day back when it had 4 scored sections before the pandemic. And so you've actually got it easy in comparison. That may not make it seem any easier for you, of course, but if you want to make 4 sections seem easy, try doing 5, again, to build up that endurance. Your actual LSAT test day will look a little bit different, of course. If you're taking the LSAT in April or June, you're going to have 3 scored sections, 1 of logic games, 1 of logical reasoning, and 1 of reading comprehension. That's 3 different section types that you've got to study. If you are brand new to the LSAT right now, the time between now and April or between now and June likely isn't enough for you to achieve your fullest potential. And so I'd recommend instead, if you're new to the LSAT, wait until August when they're removing the game section and replacing it with a second scored logical reasoning section. Then you'll only have 2 sections to study. So your 75 questions across 3 sections are only going to be of 2 different types, either logical reasoning or reading comprehension. The good news for you is that any gains you make in your understanding of logical reasoning will be automatically doubled across the 2 scored sections of logical reasoning, and so it's going to be easier for you to get that quick score boost that you're looking for. Now, when you're considering your pacing in logical reasoning, it's worth considering that not all questions are of equal difficulty. In fact, there is a general order of difficulty over the course of the section. The first 10 questions are going to be a whole lot easier than the tougher ones that come later, and so I recommend getting through those first 10 questions at a pretty fast pace, typically in about 10 to 12 minutes, to build up a time bank that you can then apply to the tougher questions later in the section. Questions 15 through 23 in any logical reasoning section are going to be on average the most difficult ones, and so you want to attempt those only after you've already tackled the easier ones earlier in the section. Then for reading comprehension, I have a few strategies for you here to help you navigate the section more quickly and with higher accuracy. It comes down to how you allocate your time. You only want to spend max 2.5 to 3 minutes on your initial read of the passage so that you'll have enough time for the questions associated, because you're going to have about 7 questions associated with each reading comprehension passage. If you spend any more than 3 minutes on your initial read of the passage, you're not going to have nearly enough time for the questions associated with that passage. And you also want to make sure that you are approaching those questions in reading comprehension out of order. Start with the general, global, big picture questions like main idea, primary purpose, best title, tone, author's opinion. Knock those out first. The questions involving details and specific examples, you can solve those later, but make sure that you address the big picture questions first. Now, with logic games, I'm not going to leave you hanging on logic games. Even though it's going away, I'll still address it here also. You want to make sure that you're also approaching the questions out of order here as well. You want to start by knocking out the orientation question, which is your gimme warm-up question, asking you which one of the following is simply a valid scenario. Then you want to do all the local if questions that give you a jumping off point from which to create a specific diagram, and only then address the more open-ended global questions that ask you simply which one of the following must be true or could be true. The idea here being that you want to make sure that you are only attempting the global questions when you already have the valid scenarios to help you eliminate wrong answer choices in the global question and possibly help you knock out the global question right away without doing any additional work. So the idea here being that you are saving your previous work and doing that work first in drawing those local diagrams to again help you solve the general global questions. So you see here that when you are attempting to solve 100 LSAT practice questions on an exam, some strategy is involved here. Again, our strategy is to first off say, hey, maybe we want to skip games entirely, take it in August, narrow down the number of types of questions we have to study, and then for each section of logical reasoning and reading comp, we want to approach the questions in a very particular order, considering the difficulty of the question and considering how doing earlier work will help us solve later questions. Anyway, folks, that's all for now. I hope you found the video helpful. If you did, please do me a favor and share it with someone who needs to see it. I don't do any advertising for the channel. I rely only on word of mouth, and your spreading the word really does make a difference. In the meantime, I wish you all the best and take care.